One way to analyze our competition and understand our standing in the industry is using Porter's 5 Forces model. Porter's 5 Forces is a model that identifies and analyzes 5 competitive forces that shape every industry and helps determine an industry's weaknesses and strengths. The first force is threat of new entrants. This covers the ease in which new competitors can enter the market if they see that you are making good profits, and they can potentially drive your prices down. If it takes little money and effort to enter your market and compete effectively, or if you have little protection for your key technology, then rivals can quickly enter your market and weaken your position. If you have strong and durable barriers to entry, then you can preserve a more favorable position and take advantage of it. The second force is bargaining power of vendors and suppliers. This refers to the ability of suppliers to drive up prices of your inputs. The more you have to choose from, the easier it might be to switch and find a less expensive alternative. But the fewer suppliers there are, and the more you need their help, the stronger their position will be, as well as their ability to charge you what they wish. This can impact your profit. The third force is bargaining power of a firm's customers. This refers to the strength of your customers to drive down your prices. When you deal with only a few savvy customers, they may have more power, but your power increases if you have many customers. The fourth force is threat of substitute products. This is the extent to which different products and services can be used in place of your own. If a substitution is easy and cheap to make, this could weaken your position and threaten your profitability. The fifth and final force is intensity of rivalry among competing firms. The strength of competition in the industry is what this refers to. When there's intense competition, companies can attract customers with aggressive price cuts and high-impact marketing campaigns. Also, in markets with lots of rivals, the suppliers and buyers could also go elsewhere if they feel they're not getting a good deal from you. On the other hand, where there's minimal competitive rivalry and no one else is doing what you do, then you'll most likely have tremendous strength and healthy profits in your specialization. Henry Mintzberg is a renowned academic, author, and researcher. His managerial theory is founded on the idea that managers are involved in 10 roles divided into 3 main clusters. Mintzberg believes that HR and its leaders must become more worldly, a term combining sophistication with practicality, not just by geographic operations. The first cluster is interpersonal roles. These roles involve the behaviors associated with human interaction. In other words, interpersonal roles are the roles that allow a manager to interact with his or her employees for the purpose of achieving organizational goals. There are 3 roles listed under interpersonal, which include figurehead, leader, and liaison. The second category of managerial roles is informational roles. The informational roles include those roles in which a manager must generate and share knowledge to successfully achieve organizational goals. There are 3 roles listed under informational roles, which include monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. The third category of managerial roles, according to Mintzberg, is called decisional roles. Decisional roles involve roles such as the entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. All of these roles involve the process of using information to make decisions. Edward Schein has made a notable mark on the field of organizational development in many areas, including career development, group process consolidation, and organizational culture. The management philosophies of Edgar Schein lean heavily towards organizational culture and its leaders. Schein, a professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management, describes a model of organizational culture that encompasses 3 levels. The first level is artifacts. Artifacts are organizational characteristics that are seen, heard, or felt. HR influences over artifacts include company dress code and codes of conduct, as well as the overall ethics of the organization. Management modeling and training are also influenced by the efforts of human resources. The second level is values. Values are communicated through the company's mission, vision and goals, as well as by what the company says it will or won't do. Consider safety rules and whether a manager adheres to them. The third level is assumed values. Assumed values are the unconscious perceptions employees have about what their employer values. These undercurrents may be communicated through management behaviors regarding what gets rewarded and what gets disciplined, the functionality of teams, or the depth of relationships between staff. Professor Geert Hofstede conducted one of the most comprehensive studies on how values in the workplace are influenced by culture. His work helped introduce the idea of cultural differences between people in the business context. Understanding the differences in cultures is becoming ever more important as we continue to become an integrated global economy. The cultural dimensions theory is a framework for cross-cultural communication. The various elements of this theory are as follows. Power distance. Power distance refers to the amount of equality or inequality between the leaders and the workers. This is also called the distribution of power. Companies and cultures with low power distance are more likely to have executives, managers, and other employees working closely to achieve business outcomes. In companies with high power distance, one would expect to find traditional hierarchies and greater disparity between executive and individual pay and responsibility levels. Uncertainty avoidance is the tolerance for uncertainty. This is higher in some cultures than others. From a workplace perspective, individuals with a high uncertainty tolerance will do better in innovative and creative companies that offer support for trial and error. Those with a low tolerance for uncertainty prefer environments with structure, rules, and standard methods of operations. Individualism versus collectivism. Countries and companies with high degrees value parts more than the whole. Independence, autonomy, and individual rewards are preferred by these groups. Collectivist cultures may value rewards for loyalty and prefer collaborative business environments. Long-term versus short-term orientation. Individuals with high degrees of long-term orientation are big on self-discipline, willing to sacrifice rewards of today in order to achieve the greater things of tomorrow. Short-term oriented individuals value freedom and thinking for oneself, and typically live more for today than the longer term. Indulgence versus restraint. This is the degree towards which countries or companies have a need for immediate gratification as opposed to suppressing gratification in accordance with cultural expected standards of behavior. This dimension is rooted firmly in degrees of control over one's work life and personal outcomes. Masculinity versus femininity. This represents thinking in relation to traditional values associated with gender roles. Gender refers to the culture's tendencies or orientation towards enforcing or reinforcing masculine or feminine roles in work. Masculine cultures tend to emphasize ambition, control, competition, and assertiveness, as well as achievement, whereas feminine cultures may emphasize nurture, care, sharing, quality of life, and relationships. While not politically correct, it does represent thinking in relation to traditional values associated with gender roles.